morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Very good to meet you. My name is Dan Bagley. I run the pre-sales and solutions engineering teams here at Leena AI. Coming to you live this afternoon from the East Coast of the U.S., Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. Surprisingly nice day for August here in Northern Virginia. Normally, this is prime swamp weather for us, but it's actually a very pleasant day. It's been the coolest August on record in Washington. So I will certainly take it. Hope it is nice where you all are as well. Goal of today's session, a little bit more of an educational session. If you've joined this recurring series, you've seen a couple different topics involving demos and interactive discussions. So today we're going to focus a little bit more on education and focus around some of the architectural concepts that one needs to keep in mind as you're building out an agentic AI architecture for the enterprise. With that being said, I do want this to be relatively interactive. Two main parts of today's webinar. We'll start off with a few slides, and then the center section of the webinar will be focused around sort of the architectural solutions that we put together to try and solve some of these challenges. So please feel free to use both the chat and the Q&A feature to ask questions and make comments throughout. I may pause briefly before the architectural piece, but I will definitely pause following the architectural piece, and we'll be able to go through questions. So feel free to populate that as you go, and we'll certainly jump into them today. In terms of agenda, we're already talking from an introductory perspective. We'll talk a little bit about what the agentic AI means, both to me and in terms of a practical enterprise assistant environment. We'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges, what that means for your employees, what that means from you from an implementation perspective, and then we'll of course talk about the architectural considerations that we've seen and we've found from a solution team perspective. And as mentioned, we'll follow up with some Q&A following that. All right, so to kick us off, a little bit of a conversation or a starter, I'll ask Prashant, who's helping me here, to go ahead and push this poll to live. Wanted to get an idea for how familiar people are with agentic AI architectures. I think AI is something that you'd have to be living under a rock not to be familiar with AI in general at this point in today. And I think agentic AI being the buzzword of the moment is something that people have increasing exposure to. But if you think about agentic AI architectures, particularly as they pertain to enterprise use cases, a bit of varying degrees of familiarity with that. And so want to start that off so we can tailor some of our conversations. And it looks like, just seeing the real-time results from the poll coming in, a pretty even distribution, ranging from complete novices to people fairly further along the development curve as we look at that. All right, so briefly, introduction to Leena AI, 7-8 years in business. We actually predate the LLM era. So we got our start in the enterprise digital assistant chatbot era. So deterministic chatbots that would take employees through specific experiences to assist them. So the great news is we've been helping employers with these use cases for quite some time. And as the LLM era has come upon us, that has provided an extremely large degree of information and data sets that we've been able to use in order to tailor our experiences, and that learnings from our 7-8 years in business have been invaluable towards helping some of our 500 customers worldwide really build experiences that can really assist their employees across the board. And that has been a journey for us, but it's been a large amount of learning that has been really, really helpful in terms of putting together the architecture that I'll walk you through here today. And as you can see in some of the complexity and challenges that are associated with putting together an architecture like that. All right, so let's talk about what's agentic AI in a employer-employee relation context. And anytime I think about AI agents, I like to draw back to the analogy of, okay, what's an agent from a person perspective? And I don't imagine there's too many music or sports stars among us, but for those of us who have done a real estate transaction, you may have used a real estate agent. And a real estate agent is someone who you have asked to go out into the marketplace, and you've given them broad broad instructions. You perhaps empowered them to make a certain category of decisions on your behalf, and you've asked them to come back to you for a different set of decisions. And I think that analogy is really apt when we think about AI agents, because the same set of instructions that you might give a real estate agent acting on your behalf in a person-to-person scenario is the same sort of instructions that you would give to an AI agent acting on your behalf. My AI agent may be empowered to do certain things autonomously, may come back to me to confirm other things, and may not be equipped to handle other circumstances. So that is a relatively good analogy as we think about AI agents. I think as we look at AI agents and the enterprise concept, a number of both sort of trends and principles around it. So first of all, I think you've seen, and anybody who has played with a GPT model has been able to see the immediate power and promise of being able to answer knowledge queries and say synchronize the set of documents and answer knowledge queries based on that. Today, it's still an amazing technology, but I'd like to view it as the easy part. So answering questions is easy, but completing tasks on your behalf is hard. And we tend to view those as two sides of the same coin. The knowledge that your employees have access to will ground the actions that they can take advantage of. So finding out what my PTO balance is in the time and attendance platform, applying for PTO, that's just as important as understanding what my employer's PTO policy is. And those two together are certainly more valuable than any one of them offered out alone. In order to enable those actions, Agentic AI has to be connected to multiple different systems and the important systems of record. I think as you look at employees, there's ever increasing number of systems that employees have access to and can take action on themselves in those external systems. But for a proper employee assistance Agentic AI, it needs to be connected to those different systems of record. And those are systems of record across HR domains, IT domains, finance, sales, procurement. If I'm an employee, depending on my job role, I could have access to literally hundreds of systems. And Agentic AI needs to be connected to a critical mass of those systems such that I can get benefit for me in interacting and the AI agent interacting with those systems on my behalf. So a hallucination is a major challenge. So if you played with publicly available AI models, and heck, I even see this with from a Google search perspective. I was searching for a particular feature on my iPhone actually inside of Google, and I asked Google, okay, well, how can you do this particular feature? And it came back to me with a step-by-step instruction, which I tried to follow on my iPhone until I discovered it actually didn't exist. So Google's chat search results had hallucinated a very detailed process and procedure that physically didn't exist on my iPhone. And that was really, really enlightening even to me. And I live in this on a day-to-day basis. So those publicly available AI models tend to be text prediction engines. They predict text that sounds like it's true. It's compelling when you read it, but isn't necessarily. So building AI models that, one, don't hallucinate in the first place, and then two, have a pipeline associated with them that, one, will generate an answer via one model and then perform a fact check on that answer via a second model. And only if it follows that muster, display it back to the user, is really important to avoid hallucination, especially when you're talking about something that's important as an employer's policies or documents that an employee might have access to. Now, the other side of the coin beyond hallucinations is permission. I think as soon as you connect an agentic AI system to multiple different endpoints, the permission model matters. And me going out to an HRIS system, I have one set of permissions in an HRIS system, and the CHRO might have another set of permissions in that HRIS system. So if you're connecting an agentic AI solution to external systems, it needs to follow the permission set inside of that external system and represent you to that external system to understand what your user has access to. So permissioning is really key in addition to avoiding hallucination. When I do a lot of my demos, and we'll talk about this from an architectural perspective, I think it's really important for agentic AI to meet employees where they are. So I do a lot of my demos inside of enterprise chat applications. So things like Microsoft Teams, inside of Slack, Google Chat, and for a category of desk-based workers, that makes a ton of sense because as a desk-based worker, we generally live inside of those tools. But not every worker is a desk-based worker. So our recent release, and if you caught a webinar about 2 weeks ago, we had a release for voice interaction, which has been hugely positively received by some of our prospects and customers because it meets those mobile employees where they are. Clearly, mobile devices are part of that as well. So mobile applications, text, SMS, all those sorts of tools in order for interacting with mobile employees, really, really important. And that's not a single choice for a given customer. That is a multiple choices in order to meet multiple customers wherever they might be. All right, so let's talk about some of the challenges, and let's say you say, all right, well, this is all great, and we definitely want to move forward with this sort of thing. What are some of the challenges that you might face? I think anybody who has deployed any enterprise system these days has seen the proliferation of multiple different agents from those first-party vendors. You've seen the challenge of sort of operating across those platforms, and it's of course impossible to read the press these days without seeing latest and greatest AI advancements. So that presents a number of sort of fundamental challenges. So I think if you look at the enterprise landscape, and there was a study that Okta put out that said that the average employee has 231 applications, and Okta would know since they tend to authenticate those applications. So it's a hugely overwhelming concern if I'm an employee. Where do I go to do this? And I think as something that we do from a pre-sales perspective, because I talk to a lot of customers who are coming on board to the Leena platform, and even us understanding, okay, well, you might do time and attendance here, you might do pay and performance here, you might do core HRIS here, you might do HCM over here. Understanding where data lives and where an employee takes action is difficult for me as a professional when I'm talking to people who specialize in this. If you're an average employee, understanding where you go in this landscape of applications is difficult, and that's already a challenge. Now, when you layer that out and say, okay, well, every one of those applications is now coming out with an AI assistant and saying, okay, well, I'm the Workday AI assistant, I'm the ServiceNow AI assistant, I'm the Salesforce AI assistant, being able to help you inside of those applications. That's helpful in theory. But now instead of 231 apps, you have 231 AI assistants, and that doesn't really solve the core challenge. In fact, it can make it more complex over time. And then if you take it to the next level and look at one of those AI assistants offering an AI studio product and try to integrate a AI assistant with other platforms. And again, this is theoretically solving a challenge. So an AI assistant being able to build an agent to connect across platform, cross-platform is good. But every one of these vendors is going to tell you that, okay, well, their system needs to be at the front and center of the employee experience. And rarely does it have, from a capability perspective, the ability to do that. And so that doesn't solve that fragmented challenge either. Now, look, I'm a technology guy, and I'll happily tell you about my home theater system or my home automation system or all those things that are kind of technology for technology's sake. But AI assistants can't be technology for technology's sake. They need to solve a real world problem in a meaningful way. And when those both AI assistants offered by the individual enterprise service vendors and even the AI studio products of those individual vendors don't talk to each other, it doesn't solve the fundamental challenge of a fragmented ecosystem. Furthermore, if you go down the AI Studio route, and we have a number of customers who have gone down that AI Studio route, and I talk to a customer every day who says they've built something on Copilot Studio, you're essentially doing something that's outside of your core business. You're onboarding essentially a development team in order to develop a set of capabilities on an AI Studio platform. They all typically start with the very easy to use drag and drop low code, no code workflow builders, but fundamentally, to operate something like that at scale, you're looking at for DevOps engineers, data scientists, data engineers, an entire coding and integration pipeline. And it's a heavy lift from a personnel perspective to operate a shop that's iterating on an AI studio product. The fact is that I talk to customers and prospects all the time. Nearly every one of them, without fail, like I said, has gone down that road in some way. Some team in that organization has either tried out a Copilot studio or a Joule studio and said, "Hey, look, I want to try to build something." And frankly, they probably saw a little bit of early success and said, "Hey, this is easy. This is cool. We're accomplishing things." I mean, that's the promise of AI, and we're all, even me, I'm continue to be impressed when you see something work for the first time. You're like, hey, this is progress. But the reality is, when the rubber hits the road, and you look at those customers of ours who have attempted to bring those projects to the light of day, less than 5% of them have, because you get into complexity challenges of, okay, well, how do we go across ecosystem? How do we ensure that it's offering in an intelligent manner? How do we eliminate hallucination? All those challenges that I was speaking of become more transparent as you think about bringing a homegrown AI studio driven product like that to fruition. So the solution. So we've spent, as I've mentioned at the onset, a large amount of time working on this, and this is the evolution of something of our collective 8 years in business in order to put together an agentic AI architecture that we think is both scalable in nature, is secure in nature, can be cross-platform in nature, and can solve for many of those challenges that I outlined at the onset. So in a second, I'm going to go ahead and take you through that architecture. I do want to remind everyone of the chat and Q&A as I'm going through the architecture. At the end of that, we'll have a chance for questions, answers, and some other overall engagement. All right. So with that being said, this is a relatively busy side. In fact, I'll go say a very busy side, but this is essentially what we view as the architectural solution to some of these challenges. And I got my little laser pointer up here. I'll try to break it down for everybody into individual components. So let's start at the top here from a touch points perspective. And so you heard me mentioned early on that it's important to meet employees where they are. So certainly Microsoft Teams and Slack and other chat applications, very, very important for desk-based workers. As I mentioned, voice is getting a ton of traction for us internally, to the point that we have customers and prospects of ours who are looking at entire call center replacements and say, okay, you're operating a call center today, but if an agentic AI solution can answer directly via voice, you don't need a call center tomorrow. Certainly browsers, both desktop and mobile. We partner with a number of the major intranet vendors and embed inside of those intranet tools, service portals as well. API and sort of machine-based interaction is something that we're seeing more of. I think as you look at protocols such as MCP and A2A, which are coming out in the marketplace and seeing more adoption in the marketplace, we'll have more cases where that's being used. We're technically capable today. I don't think the rest of the ecosystem is there yet, but we'll see more of that in the future. And then, of course, legacy grounds of communications, email, text, WhatsApp, things along those lines. So regardless of the touch point that a given employee uses to enter the Leena ecosystem, they are met by our orchestrator. So the orchestrator is what the large language model that builds an intelligent execution plan for solving an employee's query. Now, it's important to note we're not a core model company, so we don't build models from scratch. We will take best of breed models of commercially available, and we will tune them based on our extensive data set. So we bring those to market as the WorkLM family of models, and we leverage best of breed commercial models, bring them using our synthetic data set that we've built over our 8 years in business. We have a minority of our customers who will bring their own key to external models, and will bring those, but the majority of our customers use one of our WorkLM family of models to take advantage of that 7 to 8 years of training and learning that we put together. Regardless of what's used from a model perspective, the first thing, the orchestrator will break down the query into individual tokens. So an AI large language model doesn't read from left to right like you or I would do. They look at an entire query holistically, breaking it down into sub pieces or tokens. It then looks at those tokens and will build an actual intelligent execution plan in order to solve for the challenges represented by that prompt. Now, in Leena world, it will use agents that it has access to and skills that belong to those agents in order to build the intelligent execution plan. And of course, it'll observe and adapt over time. So let's talk about agents. So agents are sort of core to the Leena offering. And you can think of agents in two ways. You can think of system level agents. And I think as you look at early efforts into agentic offering, we were seeing system level agents much more often. So this could be, I am a Workday agent. I can update your employee directory. I can apply for time off. I can see job change requests. I'm a ServiceNow agent. I can update and close tickets. I'm an Oracle agent. I can interact with procurement offerings and ERP offerings. So I think those system level agents are important, and probably the majority of our customers are still on the system level agent perspective. As we go a little bit more forward looking, it's a useful thought process, both a thought process and a technical architecture process to think of agents as functional agents. And we're even evolving both our branding, the way that we talk about this, and the technical architecture around functional agents under the moniker of an AI colleague. Think about, you ask a colleague in HR or a colleague in finance or in procurement to help you, and they might be doing work for you anyway, even if you don't ask them to help you. That's what a functional agent is. And we're seeing more and more of our deployments head towards this functional agent view. And we'll have some more architectural changes coming up to even support that further. So it could be, I am an IT support agent and I have access to reset passwords, install software, open tickets, things along those lines. And similar for these other examples. Think of it as an entry-level job role person in that sort of experience. So regardless of whether we're thinking about a system level agent or a functional agent, the agent is essentially a sub-orchestrator. So it has a plain text description, not dissimilar to the descriptions I gave you when I was talking about a system and a functional agent. So that is the way that the orchestrator actually calls agent. It looks at the plain text descriptions of those agents, and it makes a list of agents which may be in scope for a given execution plan. Now, there are three parts of each agent which will then help build the execution plan. So the first is the agent operating protocol. So the agent operating protocol is essentially a set of instructions to your agent that will give information about your business processes. So this can be plain text in nature. It doesn't need to be something that you've built out via code or complexity, but can be a plain text description of, think about a job change. And a job change might involve 5, 6, 10, 15 different discrete steps or discrete actions, but you can write that business process in plain text, and an agent can understand that from an agent operating protocol perspective. Now, the two pieces of action that an agent has access to are skills. So these are discrete bits of work that an agent can accomplish, as well as memory. So this is data that an agent has access to. So let's talk about data first. So first of all, we have a purpose-built set of agents called knowledge access agents. And these knowledge access agents actually go out and synchronize with sources of knowledge across your enterprise. So things like Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, Confluence, ServiceNow, Zendesk, other places where knowledge might live. So knowledge access agents synchronize with that, and they use policy documents to respond to questions. They're relatively purpose-built agents. Agents can also access structured and unstructured data via memory. So if I need to query an opportunity inside of Salesforce, or a ticket inside of ServiceNow, or an employee inside of Workday, those are examples of structured data that an agent has access to via memory queries. Workflows are actually how we encapsulate skills. So think of a skill as the smallest discrete bit of work that an agent can accomplish. So thinking about not a job change, that's too big. There's too many things involved with a job change, but the components of a job change. So thinking about things like looking up an employee's cost center, looking up a manager's cost center, looking up an employee's title, changing a title. Each of those discrete bits of work are a skill that's available to an agent, and they're tied together via the agent operating protocol. Skills are enumerated via the Workflow Studio. Now, our Workflow Studio differs in two ways from other Studio products. First of all, we're implementing smaller bits of work. The skills are tiny. And second, we come with an entire set of pre-built templates. So the templates are out of the box. We have out of the box integrations, out of the box connectors to all of these systems, and out of the box templates, which can be used to enumerate those skills. Last things worth calling out, highest degree of safety, security, and trust, ISO 27001, SOC 2 Type 2, and a robust set of observability and governance tool set. So like I said, this is a relatively complex side, but this is something that we've been working on for a really long time, and frankly, we're quite proud of in terms of being able to offer to our customers the ability to take out of the box integrations, out of the box templates in order to resolve these sorts of problems. All right. So I think I've got time for just maybe two questions while we're wrapping up here. So I had a question: are the functional agents pre-built at Leena, or are those separate integrations needed? So the answer is both. So we had a functional agents for all of those systems and persona levels that I described, which are essentially pre-built out of the box. We have pre-built connectors, pre-built templates for all those skills. They can, of course, be customized. And that's a big value proposition that we offer. They're essentially out of the box, really, really short time to value, while still giving you the ability to build custom agents. How much of the AOP or agents are pre-built, and how much is needed to be done by every company? So a little bit of a similar sort of question, but I'll answer for the AOP, which is the different sort. AOPs do tend to be company specific, because the AOPs are your business processes. So how you would like your agent to interact with your employees is going to be more likely to be specific. But remember, that's plain text. If I give you a Workday agent or an HR Ops agent or an ITSM agent, I'll give you the raw connectivity to that source system, the templates of skills of work that agent can accomplish, and you can tell me what are your business processes. Oh, when you open up this sort of ticket, it needs to be escalated directly to level 2. Those sorts of things that are going to be unique to your organization. All right, so we're about 2 minutes up to or actually 1 minute up to the end here. I think that's all the time we have for questions. Do thank you everyone for joining. If you answer the poll as yes, we'll reach out to you for more information. You can also scan this QR code. Put any other questions in the chat. We really do appreciate you taking 25 minutes, 30 minutes of your time here today to join with us. This is obviously a really complex topic. I could speak for 2 hours on this. So look forward to continuing the conversations and being in touch with you soon. Thank you.